الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم أما بعد يا عباد الله. To study these qawaid, these usul, these principles, these fundamental principles of a Salafiyya is something that is extremely important. It is not sufficient for an individual to connect himself to a da'wah to Salafiyya. It is not sufficient for an individual to just say Salafi, but rather an individual, he has to study and learn the qawaid, the principles and the usul of da'wah to Salafiyya. It is because a Salafiyya is not something in which we just put on our tongue a claim that we just make, but rather it is that which is actualized, because a person is in reality treading upon the way of the Salaf, because a person, he is living his life and adorning himself with the kitab of Allah, the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon the understanding of the Salaf of this ummah, inside of his aqidah, inside of his minhaj, so on and so forth. So this is important that we study and we learn these qawaid. So this is something that is important. This is something that is a must. This is something that we have to study, we have to get down. And we have to remind ourselves that these qawaid wa usul ad-da'wah al-salafiyya hiya qawaid al-islam wa usul ad-din al-islam, لأن السلفية هي الإسلام والإسلام هو السلفية. That these principles and these qawaid of a Salafiyya, they're important and they are the Islamic principles. They are the fundamental principles of al-Islam, because as Salafiyya, it is Islam, and Islam, it is Salafiyya. Naam. And this is important for us to know that when we're speaking about these principles here, that which the Fadilatul Shaykh Al-Allama Al-Imam Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala, what he put down from these principles, then these are Islamic principles. These are the principles of the deen of al-Islam. These are the principles as of as-Salafiyya. Because as-Salafiyya, it is what? Islam. And Islam is what? As-Salafiyya. Naam. So there is a must that we look at this, and we cling to it, we stick to it. That we be happy with Islam. Happy with Islam as our deen. Happy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as our Lord. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as our Prophet and Messenger. And Islam as our deen. And Islam as our deen. Because bila shak wa bila raib, one of the greatest ni'mas that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had bestowed upon us is that He guided us to the deen of al-Islam. That He took us out of the darkness of kufr. The kufr in its many darknesses, whether it was Judaism, whether it was Christianity, whether it was Hinduism, whether it was Buddhism, whether it was from the 5 percenters, or the Rastafarians, or whatever. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took us out of these darknesses and guided us to the deen of al-Islam. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took us out of the darkness of bid'ah. Took us out of the darkness of bid'ah. We know how many of the brothers accepted Islam just to go into the Wali Dali camp, just to be followers of Wafd Muhammad, Naam, and the like. How many became Muslim just to get down with Jama'at al-Tabligh, or the Ikhwan, Muslimin, so on and so forth from these stray groups. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided us out of the darknesses of that bid'ah into the light of the sunnah. This is a ni'mah from the ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have to safeguard and protect. From safeguarding and protecting it, we have to study. We have to learn. We have to study and we have to learn these principles unapologetically. the Imam, rahimahullah ta'ala, he goes on with these tremendous principles. And we have reached the third principle. The Imam, he says, Al-Aslu Thalith, the third principle, أن من تمام الاجتماع, that verily from the completion of unity, from the completion of unity, السمع والطاعة, is to hear and obey. لمن تأمر علينا ولو كان عبدا حبشيا, is that we have to listen and obey the one who has been placed as a ruler over us, the one who is a ruler over us, even if he is or was an Abyssinian slave. Even if he was an Abyssinian slave, we still have to hear and we have to obey the ruler of the Muslims. وقال العلامة شيخ صالح الفوزان حفظه الله تعالى, طاعة ولي الأمر المسلم, that we have to obey. We have to obey the leader who is a Muslim. We have to obey the Muslim ruler. لأنه لا يتم وأنه لا يتم هذه الاجتماع إلا بطاعة ولي الأمر, because this unity will not be complete except through the obedience to the Muslim ruler. Obedience to the Muslim ruler. فلا اجتماع إلا بإمام. There is no unity on a societal level. There is no unity except that you have to have an imam. You have to have a ruler. Without a ruler, there's no unity. Look to the countries that don't have clear and stable governments. Do you find they're in unity? Or do you find they're in chaos? Do you find they're in many militias, each one fighting and vying to be the ruler? Because without an imam, you don't have unity. It's not possible. Na'am. Wala imam illa bis-sam' wa ta'a. And there's no imam except you have to hear and obey. There's no imam except that you have to hear and you have to obey. وولي الأمر المسلم, the Muslim ruler, جعله الله رحمة للمسلمين. Allah has made him a mercy for the believers. A mercy for the believers. لإقامة الحدود, by establishing the prescribed punishments. Because the prescribed punishment is to be established by who? The one in authority. What about me and you? Can we establish the prescribed punishments? Can we say, but I saw him stealing inside of the souk. He stole the man's car when he was in the store. We saw it. And not just me. Me, him. So can we cut his hand now, please? Huh? That for us to do? No. Because Islam does not call to nor encourages any type of vigilantism. Islam does not call to encourage any type of anarchy. Islam calls to order. It calls to order. And when that order is established, then we have what? Peace. Peace within a society. The Shaykh, he says, وَالْأَمْرُ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَالنَّهِي عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. Also the leader is there so that calling to good and forbidding the evil could be established. وَنَصْرَةُ الْمَضْمُومِ مِنَ الظَّالِمِ. And also so that the one who is oppressed could be given aid and assistance and victory over the oppressor. Without established rulership, then the strong will be left to prey upon the weak. But when you have a ruler, the weak will be able to get their right from the one who is oppressing them. Now, وَالْحِفْظُ الْأَمَنِ, and safeguarding of peace, the safeguarding of a sense of security. that when there's an established government, then you will have security. But when there's turmoil on a governmental level, due to not abiding by this, then there's no security. One may only look at what's going on right now today and the effects of revolting against the ruler. There were so many lands from the Muslim lands that had peace and tranquility. They had the issues that they had, but it was a sense of peace. It was a sense that there was establishment of law. But after these revolutions, al-Kharijiyya, because this is what these revolutions are. Shaykh Khalid Abdul Rahman, hafidhahullah ta'ala, this is what he has named and taught us to refer to these revolutions as, these Thawrat al-Kharijiyya. Al-Thawrat al-Kharijiyya. Naam, these Khariji revolutions, these Khariji revolutions, these Khariji uprisings, and so on and so forth. After these Khariji uprisings, you find there's a sense of lawlessness. There is no peace and security like it used to be. SubhanAllah, the stories we hear coming out of Egypt amazes us. It is as if it is not the same country we used to live in. Almost a decade we lived there. Shy of 4 years. A decade shy of 4 years. That equals how much? 6. Want to make sure no one ain't getting sleepy. But yeah, it's as if it's a different country. People getting robbed, women getting raped, people being murdered in the street, and so on and so forth. This is unimaginable. When there was security, when there was stability, there was security. You can leave your door unlocked, no one will come in. Not even unlocked. They will leave the door open with the mosquito and fly screen. That's it. People wouldn't even walk by a house and look in. This was to the extent of the security. So now to hear that during this Thawra al-Khariji, during this Khariji revolution, people were blockaded inside of their houses fearing for their welfare. Allahu musta'an. Ala kulli hal, from the principles of our da'wah is to hear and obey the ruler. The Shaykh, he was on and he says, min hada rahmatillah, or hada min rahmatillah, that this is from the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal. Was Sahaba, and this is important now, I want you to reflect on the importance of a leader and a established, firm government and the like. Contemplate over this. والصحابة لما توفى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, when the Sahaba, once the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم had passed away, they did not let any time go by. As the Shaykh, he says, لم يدفنوه حتى بايعوا إمامهم, that once the Prophet ﷺ died, contemplate on this now, they did not even bury him until they had first made bay'ah to a new ruler. I want you to contemplate on that, because we live in a time where the foolish ones have made light the affair of the ruler, had made cheap the position of the ruler. But is this how the Sahaba understood it? Was this the methodology of the Sahaba? You find this was not their methodology, this was not their way. But they understood the importance of the ruler. They understood the importance of stable leadership. So much so that once the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Nabiullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam, once he died, they did not even bury him until they first made bay'ah to the next leader. Rightfully so to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. The Shaykh says, لأنهم يخشون من الاختلاف ومن الفتنة. And this is because they were scared of differing, and they were scared of fitna. The differing that comes when there is no stable leadership, the fitna that comes as a result of that. لأنهم يعرفون أنه لا يصلح أن يعيشوا ولا ليلة واحدة بدون الإمام. He said, because they knew, I want you to listen to this now. The Sahaba, they knew that it was not sufficient, it was not an option, it was not acceptable to live for even one night without an imam. Even one night without an imam. And you're asking us, why is the ummah being plagued with the problems it's being plagued with? Then you see, because we are away from the way of the Sahaba. We are away from that which Allah Ta'ala revealed to us in the Quran, that which the Prophet ﷺ taught us in the Sunnah. We are away from this. This is why we have the problems that we have. Ya Salaam, who in their right mind, who understands Islam, will go through what they go through, be in the situation that they're going to be in, and so on and so forth, and then have the nerve to say, you know what, let's make a general election 6 months from now, and then we'll wait until then to pick the ruler. Ya Salaam. Ya Salaam. This idea, this methodology, this intikhabat, this voting and the like, this is not from our way. This is not from the deen of al-Islam. Do you reflect now that we open up by reminding us of the ni'mah of the deen of al-Islam? The ni'mah of the deen of al-Islam, the superiority of the deen of al-Islam. The deen in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم إسلام دينا. On this day I have completed my favor upon you, or completed, perfected for you your deen, completed my favor upon you, and I'm pleased that you have Islam as your deen. Allah Ta'ala is pleased that we have Islam as our deen. Allah Ta'ala tells us that our deen is perfect. Your deen is perfect. So any type of societal problems that we will have amongst ourselves, any type of social problems that we will have amongst ourselves, any type of governmental problems we will have amongst ourselves, so on and so forth, Islam has already showed us the way. Islam has already given us guidance with regards to that, to rectify our problems. This is important that we understand this, especially in this day and time that we are being bombarded from this affair, from this standpoint. And then there's no surprise why the situation is just worse, because they're utilizing that which has therein no solution, which has therein no healing, but in fact is the essence of the poison. Ala kullin, the Shaykh goes on, then he says, لِأَنَّ هَذَا مِنْ ضُرُيَاتِ الدِّينِ, because this is from the extremely important, vital, essential matters of the deen. The deen of al-Islam, it has come to preserve 5. Now I want you to reflect upon these 5 and their relationship to the ruler, and how 5 will not be established in the absence of a ruler. The deen of al-Islam, the Sharia, it is that which has come to protect the deen, to protect the deen, the religion. Naam. There will be no protection of the religion without a ruler, without a centralized and firm and established government. You won't find a protection of people's deen in that type of situation. Also, the deen of al-Islam has come to safeguard an-nafs, the lives, has come to safeguard the lives. Now, could there be a safeguarding of the life and the lives of the people and the constituents and the like, but there's no ruler? Or statistically, what do we know? In the absence of firm leadership, then what goes up? What rate increases? Murder, homicide, crime. It increases. It increases. Whereas when the ruler is stable, it what? Decreases. Don't be fooled by these kuffar. Don't be fooled by these kuffar who will have to bring our land that which they don't tolerate in their land. You understand what I'm saying? Don't be fooled by the kuffar that will have you bring to our land that which they don't tolerate in their land. Not at all. You name me anything that has happened in any of the kuffar lands from these leaders of this democracy here, or this kufr, this democracy, any of these lands that have allowed the likes that have taken place in our lands to happen in a land. When has that happened? When has that taken place? Don't be fooled. Also, the reputations, the reputations. The reputations is something that Islam has come to preserve. Can the reputations be preserved and safeguarded and maintained if there's no ruler? Is this possible? If there's no ruler, can it be preserved? No. Because then where is the accountability? Who is going to hold that person for saying and doing things that eat into the reputations and the honor of people on a social level inside of society? There's no ruler to maintain that order. Alhamdulillah, no one's going to get away though. No one's going to get away. Because we have Yawm al-Qiyamah, the day the debts will be paid. You take now, you will give then. You take now, you're going to give then. You won't get away. No way. Also to protect the protection of al-mal, people's wealth. The wealth. This is one of the things that Islam has come to safeguard. The wealth. Can the wealth and properties and wealth and monies and that be protected in the absence of a ruler? No. We already acknowledge and agree to that fact, how the crime rate goes up from robbery, theft, and the like. Wal-aql. And also the intellects. The intellects. So that weird and foreign ideologies are not affecting the minds of the Muslims. And this is why it is from the rights of the ruler. It is from the right of the ruler, the Muslim ruler, to fight, to imprison, and to execute whatever is up to their discretion, the mubtadi'. This is why it's the right of the Muslim ruler to fight against the innovator, to imprison the innovator, and or to execute the innovator if they see fit. This is the right of the Muslim ruler. So as a protection of the intellects and protection of the minds. The Shaykh Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he goes on and he says, وَلَا يُمْكِنْ أَن يَكُونُ هَذَا إِلَّا بِالسَّمْعِ وَالطَّاعَةِ لِوَلِيِّ الْأَمْرِ. He said this is not possible that these things will be established except that there has to be hearing and obeying for the Muslim ruler. وَلِهَذَا يَقُولُ جَلَّ وَعَلَى. And due to this, Allah Jalla wa'ala, He says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولُوا الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. O you who believe, obey Allah and obey the Messenger and those who are in authority over you. And this is in Surah An-Nisa, in its ayah 59. Allah Ta'ala starts His ayah by saying, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. O you who believe. O you who believe. Naam. Because this is how the believer is supposed to act. Okay? So I want you to open your ears now. Because this is how the believer is supposed to act. You can't bring to us no kafir and say, but they don't. Because they are kafir. And them being in opposition to the way in which the believer is no surprise to anyone. Naam. We're not surprised by this. Just like we're not surprised when the dog goes woof. Because that's what dogs do. Just like we're not surprised when the cow goes moo. Because that's what cows do. No one walks by a dairy farm and says, SubhanAllah, the cow said moo. Of course, that's what cows do. Naam? No one looks at a dog barking and says, the dog is barking. Would you believe that? Yes, this is what dogs do. So when a kafir acts like a kafir, okay, that's what kuffar do. They're no example for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, O you who believe, O you who believe, obey Allah, obey the Messenger, and those who are in authority over you. Na'am, ulu amr. Obey Allah and obey the Messenger, and those who are in authority over you. Na'am. And This is the common translation of this ayah. Right? And those who are on authority over you. Huh? The Shaykh here, he points out, he says, بعد طاعة الله وطاعة الرسول لابد من طاعة الأمر. And after obeying Allah and obeying the Prophet, obeying his messenger, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, then it is a must to obey the ruler. The ruler. Naam. And we want to bring your attention, and this is why we mentioned that generally is translated as in those who are on authority over you. The actual word here is minkum, from you. Those who are, and those rulers from you. Right? And this is really, ya ikhwa, this is why we have to strive and to learn the Arabic language. Because the translators try their best. Right? Try their best. But there's always going to be a deficiency. You know, what is the saying? Things are lost in translation. Okay? There's always going to be a deficiency. So it is a must that we strive hard to learn. It's a must that we strive hard to learn. And from those things that we strive hard to learn is the Arabic language. Now, it's the Arabic language. But I remind you to keep it in its proper place. Okay? Don't become so fanatical about learning the Arabic language that you turn a blind eye to everything else. Don't become like the people who say, oh, the brother speaks Arabic good, so then he's upon good Islam. Just because a person speaks Arabic good don't mean he understands. Don't mean he's upon that which is correct. I mean, Abu Jahl, right? Abu Jahl. You know Abu Jahl, right? The father of what? Jahl, ignorance. Spoke Arabic better than all of us. Right? But we better than him. Because he's a kafir. Sahwalillah. He's a kafir. And Allah Ta'ala has guided us to Al-Islam, bestowed His mercy upon us and His bounty, and guided us to Al-Islam. Ala kullin, we don't utilize the Arabic language as if, oh, that is the, measuring stick of a person's Islam. He speaks Arabic, so he must be a good Muslim, right? No, not necessarily. It's about the application. Ala kullin, in order to understand the Kitab and the Sunnah, the way in which they're to be understood, what will aid you in that is the Arabic language. Ala kullin, we have here minkum. Shaykh Fawzan, hafidhullah ta'ala, he says, min al-Muslimin, meaning the ruler from the Muslims. The Muslim ruler. So what we're speaking about now is applicable to who? To the Muslim ruler. Naam. Hear and obey. To the Muslim ruler. Now, if someone were to ask you, obedience that is mentioned in this ayah, what is the proof that is referring to the Muslim ruler and not a ruler in general? What is the proof? The proof is what? The kalima minkum, from you. Because the ayah begins with, O you who believe. O you who believe. And then at the end is it, minkum, from you. Naam, not the end, but further on in the ayah, from you. So from you who? From O you who believe, from you who believe. So from the Muslims. This is an important point. The Shaykh says, دل أنه يشترط في الولي الأمر أن يكون مسلما or أن يكون مسلما. He says, so therefore we understand, this is the point I want you to write it down, that there is a condition and a stipulation that the Muslim ruler or that the ruler be a Muslim. There's a stipulation that the ruler be a Muslim. This is from the principles of Al-Islam that we love, we accept unapologetically. We're not going to apologize to this. We're not going to apologize. If someone come and they say, well, how come a Christian can't be a ruler of a Muslim country? Because this is not from the book and the Sunnah. We don't apologize for that. Call it what you want. Huh? Radiya man radiya. Kariha man kariha. Whoever like it. Whoever don't. That's the deen of Al-Islam. We don't apologize for it. Just like they don't apologize. Or why they don't let the Muslim be ruler over them? Sahwalillah. Do they apologize? They don't let the Muslim be the ruler. They don't apologize for that. So why you feel like you need to apologize for something? Why you feel like you need to bend the rule for something? They ain't bending no rule. Whoever don't like it, don't like it. Whoever like it, like it. The haqq is the haqq. And they say it is what it is, right? There's a change. If you said the sky is purple polka dot, the sky purple polka dot now, because you said so? No. It is what it is. Ala kullin, we don't apologize. So the Muslim or the ruler has to be a Muslim. Of our countries have to be a Muslim. Now for the kuffar countries and what they do what they do. They do what they do. Right? This is no concern of ours. But we're speaking about regards to our societies. But here, this is a principle, ya ikhwa, that is a must. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, Inna Allah yarda lakum thalathan, that Allah is pleased for you three. So I want you to listen up now to see what Allah Ta'ala, He is pleased for us to have three characteristics. From these characteristics, and ta'budu wa la tushriku bihi shay'a, that we worship Him, that you worship Him and you do not associate partners with Him. That we worship Allah and we do not associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No matter what. We don't associate partners with Allah no matter what. As it comes in a hadith, an Abi Darda radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And this hadith is very, very important. أخرجه ابن ماجه وحسنه الألباني. It has been collected by Imam Ibn Majah rahimahullah ta'ala, and Imam Albani, he graded it as being Hasan. Just as an added benefit, I want you to contemplate on this, because it shows you and it stresses the importance of learning at Tawheed. The importance of learning at Tawheed. Naam, and being upon Tawheed, and remaining upon Tawheed. Regardless of what happens, we have to remain upon it Tawheed. Abu Darda radiyallahu ta'ala anhu قال أوصاني خليلي. He said that my beloved friend gave me some advice. And his beloved friend, who is he referring to? The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Naam, ahsantum. He said that my close friend, my beloved friend, dear friend, gave me some advice. And he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لا تشرك بالله شيئا وإن قطعت وحرقت. He said, do not associate partners with Allah whatsoever, even if you are dismembered and burnt, even if you are being torn apart and burnt alive. Don't associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do not do this. Naam. These are things that we have to know and hold on to and to stick to. Pay attention to this advice. The Prophet ﷺ, he goes on and he says, وَلَا تَتْرُكْ صَلَاةً وَلَا تَتْرُكْ صَلَاةً مَكْتُوبَةً مُتَعَمِّدًا. And do not leave off an obligatory prayer on purpose. Do not intentionally leave off an obligatory prayer. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he explained why. We have to safeguard our salawat. We have to safeguard our prayers. This is important. This is very important. Ma'am. Ala kullin, the Prophet ﷺ, he explains why. He says, فَمَنْ تَرَكَهَا مُتَعَمِّدًا. Because whoever leaves it off intentionally, فَقَدْ بَرِئَتْ مِنْهُ الذِّمَّةِ. Then the protection is gone for him. If you leave off the salah intentionally, the protection is gone. So you understand now, no matter how bad it gets, no matter how severe the calamity becomes, don't stop praying. Don't stop praying. Naam. And I want you to reflect now. When a calamity strikes and so on and so forth, or even in good times and safe and peace and tranquility, can you ever afford to have the protection removed from you? Can you ever afford that? To have Allah's protection removed from you? Can you afford that? No. Not in good times. And especially not in bad times. You can't afford that. So this is why it's important now. When things happen, we go through what we go through in our life, and so on and so forth. We have these issues, we have these calamities, whether these issues and calamities are on a social level, governmental level, personal level, community level, amongst a family, amongst a person and himself, right? We have to stick to that which is correct. Stick to the tawheed. Do not make shirk, no matter how bad it is, no matter how sad you are. Naam, don't leave off the prayer, no matter how down and depressed you may be. Don't leave off the prayer. Don't skip the prayer. I'm too sad. If you skip the prayer and you're too sad, you know what's going to happen? Calamity is added to your calamity. Destruction added to your plight. So never let the shaitan come to you and fool you like this. Never let the shaitan come to you. In fact, if anything, increase in your prayer. وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ مَنْ مَعَ صَابِرِينَ. And seek aid in what? In patience and prayer. Verily Allah is with who? Those who are patient. Allah is with those who are patient. So we have to remember this, ya ibad. We have to stick to this. The Prophet ﷺ, he goes on and he says, وَلَا تَشْرَبِ الْخَمَرِ, and don't drink alcohol. Because we know what people do when they get sad and down and depressed and that. They take to alcohol, they take to intoxicants, whatever variety an intoxicant may be from. This is what you find people doing and the like. They take to the intoxicants and that. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, and don't drink alcohol. No matter how bad it becomes. You're being dismembered, you're being burnt up and that. Don't drink alcohol. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, فَإِنَّهَا مِفْتَاحٌ كُلِّ شَرٍ, because it is the key to all evil. Because it's the key to all evil. Ala kullin, the establishment of the Tawheed is a must. And Allah Ta'ala, He is pleased with those who worship Him and they do not associate partners with Him. The Prophet ﷺ, he goes on in explaining those three things in which Allah Ta'ala is pleased with. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَأَن تَعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبِّ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And Allah is pleased that you hold together to the rope of Allah and you do not separate, you do not divide. That you hold to the rope of Allah, you do not separate, you do not divide. And thirdly, وَأَن تُنَاصِحُوا مَنْ وَاللَّهُ اللَّهُ أَمْرَكُمْ. And that you give advice to the one whom Allah has put as a ruler over you. That you give him advice. Naam. I just want to stop here briefly and to show you the importance of sticking to the ulama of Ahlul Sunnah. Naam. And I want to show you the philosophy of those who say that we take the good wherever it comes. We take the good wherever it comes. Mubtadi', he bring good, we take it. Ya Salaam. Does anyone in here think that there's a Mubtadi' that says something true that Ahlul Sunnah didn't already say? Raise your hand. Who believes that? A Mubtadi' come with just some outstanding piece of truth that the people of the Sunnah ain't already said. Does anyone believe that? Huh? No, of course not. Because like Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala said, if a Mubtadi' says something that happens to agree with the truth, the people of the truth already said it. So we don't need that Mubtadi'. Period. We don't need them. But I want you to see the ulama and the understanding, right? Because look at this hadith, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, the first thing he mentioned was what? Worship Allah alone and do not associate partners with Him. Remember that, right? What's the first principle in this book dealing with? Ikhlas, at-Tawheed. Shuf, you see it? But then the Prophet ﷺ, he said, and that you stick all together to the rope of Allah and you don't divide. What's the second principle about? Sticking to the rope of Allah and don't be divided. You see that? And then he said, thirdly, that you give advice to the one whom Allah has placed over you as a ruler. What's the third principle? Hint, we on it now. Obeying the ruler. And you see now where he getting these principles from? This is important now. Because these principles in which the Imam is bringing are extracted from the book and the Sunnah. And it's also important to mention that these are from the principles of Da'wah Salafiyya. These are not all the principles. These are from the principles of Da'wah Salafiyya. These are from the Islamic principles. And not all of them, they are from them. Naam, they are from them. But ala kullin, where the Shaykh getting them from? The book and the Sunnah. Naam, the book and the Sunnah. Also, ya ikhwa, just to remind us about giving advice to the one who is a ruler over us. This is from our way, to give advice to the rulers. To give advice to the rulers. And advice is not that which is done from the minbar, is not that which is done at your dinner party. It is not that which is done when you're sitting drinking tea. That's not advice. Advice to the ruler is advice to the ruler. Not advice to those who are being ruled about the ruler. Right? No, it's advice to the ruler. Now, from the many ways of advice, whether it be from writing a letter, from sending a fax, from whatever ways that they have set up, that people could speak to them, then if you're given an opportunity, then give advice. If you haven't been allotted the opportunity, you have not been allowed the opportunity, and it's not something that is upon you. Right? No. Ala kullin, the Shaykh, the Imam, he goes on and he says, فَبَيَّنَ النَّبِيُّ صلى الله عليه وسلم هذا بيانا شائعا ذائعا بكل وجه من أنواع البيان شرعا وقدرا. He said that the Prophet ﷺ, he explained this in an extremely comprehensive, clear way, from the many different ways of expressing and clarification, and for clarity, legislatively and measurably, or by the qadr, the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the divine decree. The Prophet ﷺ explained this in a way that is extremely clear. And this is what we have to remind ourselves of in these times that we live in. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he explained how we are to be with our ruler, where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, السمع والطاعة على المرء مسلم فيما أحب وكره, that we have to hear and obey the Muslim, meaning the Muslim ruler, in that which we love and that which we dislike, in that which we love and that which we detest. ما لم, as long as ما لم يؤمر بمعصية, as long as he does not command us with a sin, with something that is contrary to the book and the sunnah. Here's a question. What if the ruler commands us to do something contrary to the book and the sunnah? What do? No. We should not listen and obey him in that. Right? What if he tells us to do something that's clearly haram? Does that mean we don't got to listen to him no more? Ahsant. He said, yes, we still have to listen to him. We just don't obey him where? In that specific command that was haram against the kitab and the sunnah. But in everything else, we still hear and we obey. This is what the Prophet ﷺ taught us. This is the guidance of the Prophet ﷺ. This is how we ought to be with our rulers. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, فَإِنْ أَمَرَ بِمَعْصِيَةٍ فَلَا سَمْعَ وَلَا طَاعَةٍ. And if he orders you with the sin, then there's no hearing and obeying in that particular affair. أخرجه البخاري ومسلم. This hadith has been collected by Bukhari and Muslim. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, and the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, because the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he didn't leave us confused, but rather he gave to us clear direction in the situations in which we will be in. Now, to where the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Man kariha min amirihi shay'a, whoever hates something from his ruler, he sees something from his ruler, he doesn't like it. Now, what should he do? Should he grab a 4x4 and then get some cardboard and a Sharpie and make slogans and rush down to wherever he want to rush down to and talk about it? Should he do that? No. Should he start talking to his friends and his family and compatriots and people in his neighborhood and whatever, try to gather them to make some kind of movement? Should he do that? No. But rather, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, فَلْيَصْبِرْ, be patient. Be patient. Na'am. Be patient. Because you will find, ya ikhwa, that al-jaza' min jins al-amal, that the reward will be in accordance to the deed, or the punishment will be in accordance to the crime. That the punishment will be in accordance to the crime. in this case. So if you find you live in a time where the rulers, you see from that what you don't like, just remember, كَمَا تَكُونُوا يُوَلَّ عَلَيْكُمْ. Remember that the way you are is the way your leaders are going to be. Because they come from us, we don't come from them. The leaders come from the general masses of the society. So the general masses of the society are people who are bad, are corrupt, then the ruler's going to be like that. Na'am. The ulama, they explain, Shaykh Raslan, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he explains that you people see from your ruler dishonesty because you yourselves are dishonest with Allah. You see from your rulers that they don't have any loyalty for you because you don't have any loyalty for Allah's deen and for the Muslims. You find that they take things from you because you take from others. And so on and so forth. You find from them aspects of oppression because you oppress other people too. And this is why the great Imam of our time, Shaykh Nasruddin al-Albani rahimahullah ta'ala, he will always say, تكون دولة الإسلام في قلوبكم قبل أن تكون في أرضكم. That the Islamic state has to be established in your heart first before it's established in the land. Established in your heart first before it's established in the land. How ironic and how absurd is it for these Khawarij, and that's what they is, the Khawarij, let's not get it confused, the Khawarij, for these Khawarij who are given whatever their call may be, they call may be to democracy, they call may be to whatever, what they're trying to call to establish, but we know for a surety that their call is not for al-Islam, because this is what they say with their own mouths, with their own tongues. This is not an Islamic revolution, this is a what? Democratic revolution. So why we gonna come and act like it's Islamic? Why you want to stand on the platform and make it seem like you care about Islam? You don't care about Islam. You just said you don't care about Islam. You said it's about democracy, not about Islam. That's what you just said. But how ironic now, these Khariji who are trying to use the Islamic issues as a part of their platform, to get the people to rile up against the government. How amazing is it that they will blame them for not ruling by the book of Allah, but then when you look at these individuals, they don't rule them, their houses, they don't even rule themselves by the book of Allah. They don't even rule themselves by Kitab and Sunnah, and they don't talk about the ruler. They don't even govern their face by the Kitab and the Sunnah. They don't even govern their face by the Kitab and the Sunnah. And you can see it. That ain't what you don't see. Being that what? You don't see no beard. You might see a mustache, but you don't see no beard. You see in their bathroom all kind of big shaving cream, all this type of stuff. Can't even rule his chin by the book of Allah, but it's going to talk about rule the country by the book of Allah? Are you kidding me? But like you are the way the rule is going to be. Na'am. Ala kullin, the Prophet ﷺ, he told us, be patient. And then the Prophet ﷺ just didn't leave it like that, because you see the deen of al-Islam is detailed. It brings the details. It doesn't just tell you something, and then leave it like that. Leave to wonder, what it really is, and like to guess. No, the Prophet ﷺ goes on and he tells us why. Why we be patient upon the ruler. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Laysa ahadun min an-nas." There's no one from the people. No one. No one. This means no one's excluded from this. No one's excluded from this. He said there's no one from the people. Kharaja min al-sultan shibran. There's no one from the people that will revolt against the ruler even a handspan. Famata. And then he dies. Alayhi. He dies upon that. Famata alayhi. He dies upon that situation. Not obeying the sultan and so on and so forth. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Illa mata mitatu jahiliyyah," except that he dies the death of jahiliyyah. He dies the death of jahiliyyah. So be patient. You're mad because of this, you're mad because of that. Because the ruler did something that you're mad about. So are you going to be patient about it, or you want to die the death of jahiliyyah? Which one would you prefer for yourself? Be patient. But even understand the evil of these individuals who will call the shabab to that which will put them and make them under the threat of dying a death of jahiliyyah. You understand what I'm saying? These individuals who call to voting, who call to participation in democracy in a democratic way, and reform, social reform, governmental reform, and so on and so forth, the land of the Muslims, and all this type of stuff, even under the guise of human rights, and all of this slogans in which the kuffar done taught them, and now they're running with, and so on and so forth. The likes of these individuals, from the hizbis, from the people of bid'ah, whether they ikhwani, whether they secularists, whether they whatever. These individuals who are calling our youth to die the death of jahiliyyah. How in the world will you be able to stomach the like of these individuals who are calling the youth, who are calling your sons, your daughters, your wives, your sisters, your mothers, your brothers, your fathers, and even yourselves to die a death of jahiliyyah? But you can be patient with them, but not with the people telling you sin with ta'ah. Ya Salaam. What madness is this? But these are people who profess to be upon sunnah. You patient with these individuals? You want us to believe you have ilm? You have some type of knowledge? You won't even make it to the third principle of this book. We're supposed to take our deen from you? Ya Salaam. These individuals are evil and despicable. You have to know and understand this. The ones who call you to go against the ruler, fight the ruler, change the government, make a coup, make this, make that, whatever. These are despicable individuals. These are individuals that are calling you to that which will cause you destruction, inviting you to die a death of jahiliyyah. How many people have died inside of these revolutions? How many of the Muslims have died in the Arab Spring? Allah musta'an. Allah musta'an. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Man khala'a yadan min ta'ah," whoever takes his hand away from the obedience to the ruler, laqiya Allah yawm al-qiyamah, and then he meets Allah yawm al-qiyamah, la hujjatan lahu. He has no proof for him. No proof for him when he meets Allah. Because what? Because he took his hand away from the obedience to the ruler. وَمَنْ مَاتَ وَلَيْسَ فِي عُنُقِهِ بَيْعَةٌ مَاتَ مِيتَةَ جَاهِلِيَّةٍ. And whoever dies, he doesn't have in his neck the bay'ah for the Muslim ruler, then he dies the death of jahiliyyah. He dies the death of jahiliyyah. But the Prophet ﷺ, he said, أُوصِيكُمْ بِتَقْوَى اللَّهِ وَالسَّمْعِ وَالطَّاعَةِ. He said that I advise you to have fear of Allah, to have taqwa, and to hear and obey. وَإِن تَأَمَّرَ عَلَيْكُمْ عَبْدًا وَإِن تَأَمَّرَ عَلَيْكُمْ عَبْدٌ عفوا. He said, even if a slave becomes your ruler. This is an important point now, because one of the shubha, one of the doubts that the takfiri and the khariji, is hizbi, democratic, calling to supporters of, promoters of, whatever, what they try to use, is they saying that the ruler has got there through an un-Islamic means, because he is whatever, he's a sultan, he's a king, he's a like this, right? And they say this is not from the Islamic way of going about it, right? This is what they try to say. So therefore this opens up the door where this is not applicable. This is what some of them try to come and say, that hearing and obeying is not applicable for this ruler because the way he got there wasn't right, or for whatever reason that they try to bring. But this is not correct. And the Prophet ﷺ, he already refuted them over 1400 some years ago. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَإِن تَأَمَّرَ عَلَيْكُمْ عَبْدٌ. Even if a slave becomes your ruler. Istami'u. How are you a slave yesterday, but you're a ruler today? You got there through legitimate ways? No. Sheikh Salih Abdis al-Shaykh, hafidhullah ta'ala, he said the only way that this can happen is by mughalaba. Said the only way a slave can go from being a slave to the ruler is by a coup, a military coup. You understand? That's the only way you could be a slave and then all of a sudden now you the ruler. Is by what? A military coup. And we know from the Deen of Al-Islam that to gain the chair, to gain rulership by way of coup and taking over, that means it's not Islamic. Right? That means not Islamic. We've already seen this from these hadith that have been mentioned. That's not Islamic. However, even if they reach the rulership by way of un-Islamic means, the Prophet ﷺ said, Sama wa ta'a, you hear and obey. Once he's the ruler and his rulership is confirmed that that's the ruler, no matter how he got there, we hear and we obey. That's it. He got there wrong way, we hear and we obey. Don't matter, he's there. We don't look at how he got there, we look at he's there. He's there, khalas, that's it. It's over. We hear, we obey. Na'am. The Hizbis, they come and they say, oh, but they voted for him. Right? They got a constitution. Don't be fooled by these slogans. Don't be fooled by these slogans. I want you to look at the Hizbis of Egypt. Look at the Ikhwanis and the Qutbis of Egypt. The Qutbis of Egypt. How all during the time of Mubarak, they were saying, but Mubarak, they have voting, and Mubarak has a constitution, and so on and so forth, and they ran with the slogan, the Quran is our constitution. You understand? That was their campaign. You understand what I mean? That was their campaign. This was their platform that they want to stand on to fulfill their agenda. Their true agenda, which is power, grabbing the power. What's the proof of that? That all them slogans and that was empty slogans, they had no sincerity with that? Is that as soon as Mubarak not there no more, then now the country come together and say, look, we need to write a new constitution and revamp it and so on and so forth. Who was the first fools in line to be part of drafting the constitution? These could be people. Oh, if we want to write a constitution, then we got to help. What happened to all that? That ain't from Islam. What happened to all that? No voting. Oh, it's going to be a vote. We gotta have candidates. And the Qutb, they got candidates. Naam. They got candidates. Ala kulli hal, you see the deception of these individuals. Deception. So don't be fooled by these individuals who will try to come to you and try to use Islam as an excuse or why, and justify why we need to fight against the ruler. There is no excuse. There is no excuse. And you have to understand, these individuals are liars. They don't care. They're liars. The Khawarij, they're liars. They don't care. They don't care. They just want the chair. That's all they care about. They don't care how they get there. They just want the chair. And they'll say what they have to say when they need to say it, just so they can get what they want to get. Don't be fooled by these individuals. The reality of it is, we hear, we obey. There's never an excuse for you to fight against a Muslim ruler. Except, as the Prophet ﷺ said, there comes from kufr, bawah. Clear kufr. Clear kufr. Clear apostasy. You're no longer a Muslim. Then that's different. But even that has conditions. Briefly, from those conditions, is that you have to have the ability. Even if you have the ability, from the conditions, is that it can't cause a greater harm. You're trying to remove him, can't cause a greater harm. Even if he straight up become a kafir and say, look, I'm not Muslim anymore, now I'm a Christian. Huh? Even if his removal cannot cause a greater harm. If it's going to cause a greater harm, you don't remove him. You don't remove him. So a person now, and they come in and say, so what do we do? If the Muslim, hypothetically now, because we know our situations ain't even reached that level. They ain't reached that level. And a kullin, just so we know, if a person come and they say, but if we know, if it's going to cause a greater harm, or we don't got the ability, so on and so, then what do we do? What do we do? We just stay there like that? No, we tell him we make hijrah. Right? The deen has the answer for you. You may not want to hear it, but it has the answer. Has the medicine. You may not want to take it, but it has the medicine. You make hijrah. That's what you do. You make hijrah. Khalas, leave. Allah's earth is spacious. You don't got to stay there. You go somewhere else. Right? Relocate. Ala kullin, this is our deen. So I want you to contemplate on this now. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, فَإِنَّهُ مَا يَعِشْ مِنْكُمْ فَسَيَخْ خِلَافٍ كَثِيرًا. Whoever lives from amongst you is going to see much differing. Much differing. This is going to be a symptom of the sickness. This is going to be the disease, the differing. So what's the remedy to that disease? فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِسُنَّتِي. So it's upon you my sunnah. That's the cure. What? And the sunnah of the khulafa ar-rashidin al-mahdi min ba'di, and the sunnah of the rightly guided khulafa after me. So what's the cure? Sticking to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and the sunnah of the rightly guided khulafa. That's the cure for the disease of splitting and dividing. So it is incumbent and it is a must that we know that we have the Islamic legislative way of doing things. We don't have to resort to that which the enemies of Islam are trying to push down our throats. The Shaykh goes on, he says, وَهَذَا الْأَصْلُ الثَّالِث السَّمْعُ وَالطَّاعَةُ. And this third principle is about hearing and obeying. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, استمعوا وأطيعوا وإن تأمر عليكم عبد. Hear and obey even if a slave becomes your ruler. As a hadith that comes in al-Bukhari wa Ibn Majah wa fi Muslim Imam Ahmad rahimahumullah ta'ala. فلا يمكن الشيخ صالح الفوزان حفظه الله تعالى, he says فلا يمكن أن تحصل جماعة للمسلمين إلا بولي الأمر مسلم ولو لم يكن ذات النسب العربي بل لو كان مملوكا. The Shaykh, he says, so it is upon that it is not possible to establish the unity of the Muslims except that there has to be a Muslim ruler, even if that ruler is not Arab in his lineage. Even if he's not Arab in his lineage, the Shaykh, he says, rather, even if he used to be a slave, doesn't matter. We hear, we obey. So I don't want you to become emotionalized like how the Hizbi, they are emotionalized, they're emotional. Because they will come and they look at the good as being bad and the bad as being good, and the name it and deem it as such. So they'll come and they'll say, oh, speech like this is cowardice. The cowards, he's scared to go in front of the ruler and say something. The greatest jihad is to speak the truth in the face of the ruler. Man, that's true. That's true. But you see them going to the ruler's face and saying something? No. They saying stuff from their house. We don't know what he's saying. He's saying stuff in the alley somewhere, outside some obscure masjid somewhere. He's saying something. And he's talking about bravery. This guy's a chump. Because bravery is to do that which is according to the book and the sunnah. As the poet, he said, الرأي قبل سجاعة سجعاني فهو أول وهي محل الثاني. He says that الرأي, you have to look, you have to observe, you have to break down a situation, right? You have to assess a situation, meaning assess it so that make sure your actions is in accordance to the Quran and the Sunnah. He said this precedes the bravery of the one who's brave. He said because it is first, meaning looking and assessing and evaluating and making sure that you move in accordance to the book and the Sunnah is first, and then that what you call bravery, then that's second. That's second. You see what's the right course of action, then you be brave in doing it. Tawakkal Allah. You see what's the right course, then you tawakkal Allah. Then you put your trust in Allah Ta'ala, go forward with it. That's bravery. Not flying out blind and doing things that are foolish and contrary to the book and the Sunnah. That's never bravery. So don't let anyone come and try to tell you, oh, the Salafy not brave. This, that. No. Salafy's brave. Na'am. Because it's about doing things the right way, not the wrong way. The wrong way don't make you brave. Not at all. And when you look at when you study the situation, you find it not brave. على كل the Shaykh goes on and he says, ثم صار هذا الأصل لا يعرف عند أكثر من يدعي العلم فكيف عملوا به. الله أكبر. The Shaykh, he says, and then the Imam Muhammad bin Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, and then you find that this particular principle is not known to many of the people who claim to have knowledge. Many of the people who profess knowledge. It's not known to them. The Shaykh, he says, فَكَيْفَ الْعَمَلُ بِهِ. So then how are you going to act in accordance to it? So how are we going to act in accordance to that which we don't know? كيف يعني تقوم على شيء تجهله. How are you going to establish something that you are ignorant about? You have to have ilm in order to establish it. And this is why studying this is very important. And Shaykh Salih Fawzan, rahimahullah ta'ala, he goes on to say in conclusion, he says, وَصَارَ هَذَا الْأَصْلِ لَا يُعْرَفُ عِنْدَ كَثِيرًا مِمَّنْ يَدَّعِي الْعِلْمِ. He said, you find that this particular principle is not known to many people who claim to have knowledge. فَيَجْهَلُونَ مَسْأَلَةَ السَّمْعِ وَطَاعَةِ. And they're ignorant about the affair of hearing and obeying. وَمَا لَهَا مِنَ الْفَضْلِ. And they are ignorant about the superiority hearing and obeying has. وَمَا لَهَا مِنَ الْأَهْمِيَّةِ. And the importance that it has. The Shaykh, he says, فَكَيْفَ بِالْعَوَامِ وَهُمْ أَشَدُّ جَهْلًا يعني في هذا. So what about now the common people, and they are more ignorant in this affair? If those who are claiming to have knowledge, if their leaders and their mashayikh and so on and so forth are ignorant about this, then what do we expect from the layman? Right? I mean, I really want us to understand and to realize the sadness of this situation. The mashayikh are ignorant about this. Meaning the imam mashayikh who ahlul bid'ah, they're ignorant about this. Na'am. So, of course, the common folk from amongst them are going to be ignorant about this. Right? So do you understand now the level of cheating of the quote-unquote Salafi da'i that goes to them and don't explain to them these important affairs? Do you understand the level of cheating of the da'i, supposed to be Salafi, that goes to him and he's quiet about these affairs? He goes to them and he speaks about fiqh. He speaks about tazkiyah and all of these other things. And these people are suffering from aspects of shirk inside of their life. You're not talking about tawheed. People are suffering. They don't know what to unite upon. You're not informing them. You unite upon the book and the sunnah. People are suffering from aspects and traits of kufr. Want to fight against the ruler. Think that there's some superiority in democracy. And you don't speak to them about these vital affairs. People now, you want to talk to them. Last Monday, or last Sunday, or Saturday, or whatever day before last Tuesday. Huh? You want to talk to them about the likes of these affairs, and you don't warn them about the evils of democracy? The same people come to your class that participated in the general election, but you ain't say nothing. You don't want to talk about that, because you fear they may not come back to class. You fear that one right there, he may not give no money no more. You fear they may not invite you back. Maybe they pay you to come. I don't know. You see how a cheat, this is a cheat. This is not from our way. We're supposed to love for our brothers what we love for ourselves. How you letting a person participate in that which Shaykh Muqbil rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, الديمقراطية هي الكفر. Democracy is kufr. Democracy is kufr. Shaykh al-Bani said words similar to this. Democracy is kufr. Kufr is one thing. Huh? It's one thing. Millah wahida. Kufr millah wahida. Huh? It's one way. Kufr is one way. Democracy is kufr. For those Muslims who don't understand how and to what level and to what extent democracy is kufr, I'll give you an example. To say something is halal, that which Allah made haram, this is what? This is kufr. To say that something is halal, that Allah has made haram, this is kufr. In democracy, everything is on the table. Alcohol, yes or no? Marijuana, yes or no? Same-sex marriage, yes or no? Yes or no? What you mean yes or no? Huh? This is not open for discussion. Allah Ta'ala says haram is haram, that's it. It's not open for discussion. Allah Ta'ala said the khamr is haram. It's not open for discussion. Allah Ta'ala, He said that homosexuality is haram. It's not open for discussion. It's not open for discussion. But democracy says it is. It's open for discussion. So how is this not kufr? And you have these ignorant individuals try to come and say that democracy is representative of Islamic way. Democracy not representative of no Islamic way. That's what they try to say. One of these fools try to say they learned democracy from us, from our concept of shura. Yes, Salaam. That is a heinous lie. That is a heinous lie. Allah Ta'ala legislates, as the ulama they explain. It is a job of the Muslim governments to what? To carry out that legislation. That's the job of the Muslim governments. To carry out the legislation. We already have the laws we need to have. Allah Ta'ala has sent them down to His Prophet ﷺ. It is the job of the Muslim rulers to carry out that legislation. That's it. Not to put on a ballot yes or no. Gambling yes or no. What's this? So how is democracy not kufr? You see how evil this is? Naam? So how in the world, if we truly love for our brothers, we love for ourselves, we truly want for them that's good, how in the world could we go to them and be quiet knowing that they're actively involved in the likes of these things? You see? These are people who are cheats. So don't be cheated out by these cheaters. The likes of Yasir Qadi, the likes of Shadid Muhammad, the likes of Tahir Wyatt, and the like of these cheaters. Don't be deceived by them. Don't be deceived by these individuals. These individuals don't want good for you. These individuals want good for their pocket. These individuals want good for their reputation, for their fame or whatever. Fame and fortune. That's what they worried about. They ain't worried about your well-being. They're worried about your deen. Don't be confused and fooled by the likes of these individuals. And whoever else is like them. Whoever else has that dirty, nasty, disgusting kufi on, they'll be talking about him too. Period. We don't apologize about that. If you got a dirty kufi on, don't get mad at me. I tell you it's dirty, take it off. Change it. Make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, you're going to stand it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why, ya ibad, watering down, it's not an issue. It's not an option for us to water down. It's not an option. We bend to the extent that Islam allows us to bend. We compromise to the extent that Islam allows us to compromise. We don't compromise beyond that whatsoever. Period. Naam. Ala kulli, the Shaykh goes on and he says, فَصَارَ الشَّجَاعَ الَّذِي يُؤْمَرُ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهِي عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ عِنْدَهُمْ. He says, so saja'ah, bravery with these individuals, it becomes the one who calls the good and he forbids the evil, meaning that the ones who fight against the rulers, under the gaze of calling the good, forbid the evil, this one becomes the one who is brave with them. Yani, وَالَّذِي لَا تَأْخُذُهُ فِي اللَّهِ لَوْمَةُ لَائِمٍ, and the one who don't care about what the people say, meaning he goes against the ruler and he don't care about what the people say. He don't care, he gonna do what he gotta do anyway. They say, oh, that's brave. That's not brave. وعندهم هو الذي يخرج على إمام المسلمين, and with them he is the one who revolts against the Muslim rulers. They say, oh, he's brave, look, he went against the Muslim ruler. Now ويخلع يد طاعة, and he removes a hand from obedience. نعم ويداري بالثورة على حكام المسلمين بمجرد الحصول الخطأ منهم, and he caused the people to make revolutions, the likes of what we have seen and are seeing, to make revolutions against the Muslim rulers because of some mistake or some sin that has come from the rulers. Because of some sin that has come from the rulers. أو معصية, or some mistake that has come from the rulers. أو معصية لا يعني تصل إلى حد الكفر, or some sin that has not reached the level of disbelief. نعم. فصار حديث المجالس والندوات والمحاضرات في تتبع العثرات ولاة الأمر أو أي نعم أو الولاة وتفخيمها ونفخ فيها. And you find the one who they deem as brave is the one who the subject matter of his sittings and of his yani I guess like nadawat, yani his places or his get-togethers and gatherings and the like, you find that all they talking about is following the mistakes of the ruler, and not just following the mistakes of the ruler, but also what tafkhimuha, and they exaggerate them, they blow them out of proportion, right? They exaggerate and blow them out of proportion and make them greater than what they are. Yani wanafkhiha, and they exaggerate with regards to what has taken place from the ruler. The Shaykh, he says, hatta يؤول الأمر إِلَى تَفَرُّقِ الْكَلِمَةِ. He said, until you find that this affair, it translates into the splitting of the word. There's no more unity. Splitting of the unity. نعم. وَتَنْفِيرِ الرَّعِيَّةِ مِنْ طَاعَةِ وَلِي الْأَمْرِ. And also you find that it translates into the people who are being led, that they remove or that they leave off obedience to the ruler, حتى يختل الأمن, so much so, or to the extent that the safety is removed, the security is removed, to the extent that the security is removed, no more security. This is what this translates into, all this talking and rambling. This is what it leads to. And this is why it's important to know, because the Qa'idiyya from the Khawarij, it was called the Qa'idiyya from the Khawarij, these are the ones who incite the violence, but they don't participate in the violence. Na'am. And it's important to understand that the lisan is before the sword. The tongue precedes the sword. Na'am. People get to talking and riling people up, then it reaches the point where the people run out and they fight against the ruler. Now, this is why the Qa'idiyya, akhbath al-Khawarij. This is why the Qa'idiyya, they are the most despicable of the Khawarij, because they are the asl for all of these Khariji actions, because they are the ones who incite, they are the ones who brainwash these people to go out and to do the likes of things in which that they do. So the Shaykh, he says, so you find that they would do this type of talking and riling the people up so much so until the safety is removed. Naam, وَتُسْفَكُ الدَّمْ of dima, and you find that the blood is being spilt because of their ranting and raving. Naam, وَيُؤَوَّلُ الْأَمْرِ إِلَى فَسَادٍ, and it's important to understand. And you find that the affair, it translates and it reaches the level where إلى فساد أشد من الفساد الذي يحصل من الصبر على طاعة ولي الأمر الفاسق الظالم الذي عندهم لم يصدر منه الكفر البواح وعندهم عليه من الله سلطان. Is a very, very, very important point, and I want you to reflect back on recent current events, and you will see an illustration of this. The Shaykh, he says, is that all of this ranting and raving and exaggerating the mistakes of the rulers and so on and so forth, he said it reaches the level where you find that the corruption and the evil that comes from it is greater than the harm of being patient upon a ruler who acts criminally and who is oppressive. That the harm that comes from making a revolution is greater than the harm if they were just patient. Now, this ruler of which it has not come from him any type of clear, open kufr. Does not come clear with kufr. He's still a Muslim. Now, he's still a Muslim. And this ruler of which whom, he has from Allah, min Allah, sultana. He has from Allah the ruler. Allah Ta'ala has made this man the ruler. Allah has made him the ruler. But being patient upon him brings about less corruption than them not being patient. And if you reflect upon recent events and so on and so forth, and you hear testimonies of people who are living in the land before and after, many of the times that people are saying what? It was better before than it is now. It was better under the old regime before the revolution. We had peace and security then that we don't have now. Situation was better then than it is now. Now, every country you go to, you'll find people saying the same thing. It was better then than it is now. Naam. And this is the reality, is that when we don't go about things in the right way Islamically, it brings calamity upon calamity. The problems that we are having in our societies, in our communities and so on and so forth is because of not applying the Islamic way. Not applying these Islamic principles. Naam. And I'm saying this in general, and I'm saying this specifically to Atlanta here, to Georgia. These problems that we having, naam, already what we have covered today would alleviate them. Would alleviate them. Coming together upon what? The Book and the Sunnah. We don't come together because, we like each other. We just happen to jive personality-wise. There's no way we come together. We don't come together because I like to go drink coffee with you, and you like to sip tea with me. That's not how we come together. We come together upon the truth. We don't come together because we look the same, our skin the same, speak the same language, hair texture the same. That's not how we come together. No, we do not come together for that. We come together based upon the book and the sunnah. Naam. The book and the sunnah. If we apply this, then where's the ikhtilaf? What you got? What time we got time for ikhtilaf? Okay, we won't go drink tea together. Okay, fine. But why does that prevent us from calling people that which is correct? Why does that prevent us to working together fi sabilillah? Why does that prevent us? You will find the hindrance because one of both parties, their true concern is not the book and the sunnah. Their true concern is them. Their true concern is their own personal self. This is why. You understand what I mean? This is why. And this is why we have to stick to that which is proper. We have to connect ourselves to the ulama, not being of those who want to precede the ulama. Because when you go about things the wrong way, it's still wrong. It's still wrong. Naam, it's like the ulama, they say, if a person closes his eyes and he starts shooting, if he hits the target, we don't praise him. Because he didn't go about it the right way. He's not going to be praised as a marksman. Have to go about it the right way. When you go about the wrong way, it causes the more fasad. Naam, causes the more fasad. And if we look, this is what we find. It's not from our way to go in front of the kibar ulama. It's not from our way. It's not from our way. But rather, we wait. When they have said, when they have spoken, then we say what they said. That's it. That's it. Why? Because to be hasty in life's these affairs ends up causing more harm. When you're hasty in these affairs, ends up causing more harm. More harm. When you don't come at a situation the way you should come at it, what happens? You end up causing more confusion. More confusion. Naam. Whereas, if we step back and we let the ulama handle and deal with the situation, then it's done. Right? How many of the time that we have so much confusion come about because brother so-and-so that ain't studied nowhere, that don't know nothing about nothing, that don't know 5 principles from the Qawaid al-Fiqhiyah or anything, don't know 5 principles from the Usul al-Fiqh, don't know anything about how to apply these things, want to take it upon themselves to say something. Then it causes confusion. Why? Because the people, when you come out like that, now they want to know. Why are you saying that about that person? And then what happens? He ain't got no points. So it ends up causing more confusion now. You think you being brave, you think you going about things and calling the people that which is good, but you end up causing more confusion because now when you say, such and such and such and such, but you don't have you don't have the details, right? You don't have the details. You don't have that alim in front of you, and so on and so forth. Now you can't adequately explain it. So now what's the person going to say? Like you warned against this, right? But I can't explain to you in detail why you stay away from that. So now what happens? Forget you then, I'm going to go with it. Not just go with it now, but you find I'm going to be more enthused about it. You try to say some stuff, you ain't know what you was talking about, so forget you, I'm going to go right over there with him now. Contemplate, look. This is where it is. Contemplate. With the affair of Abu Muslima, what was known about him was known. It was known. But you didn't find it reaching the forefront, reaching the people like that until after Sheikh Rabi' Hafidhullah Ta'ala warned against him. Right or wrong? It was known. He was being advised for years in private. It was only after Sheikh Rabi' said what he said and it was in for him, then it became apparent to the people. Naam? At that point. Because this is how we have to deal with these likes of situations. We refer back to the ulama. We refer back to the ulama. So, I'm saying this as a reminder to myself and then to all of you, that just because we learn a principle don't mean we know how to apply it. And this is why we have to refer always back to the ulama. Because if we apply it wrong, you find that we end up causing more harm. Because now we're giving people a principle, a real principle, but a false application. It's not that people are more confused. But now they're not confused, and they know they confused. Now they confused, but they don't know it. Now the jahl is murakkab. They think they know something, but they don't know it. And this is why even if we know, we still refer back to ulama for guidance. Still, I just want you to reflect. I just want you to reflect on how the ulama have dealt with things. Shaykh Ahmed Bazmoud, hafidhullah ta'ala, he refuted Ali Halabi years ago. Years ago. Because it was clear what he was about. But it wasn't time. You understand? You have to be patient. It wasn't time. So when it came back to Sheikh Rabi', he told Sheikh Ahmed, this is not time. Stop. Why? Because they had hope. They were hoping that Ali, he would change his ways. They were hoping. And Sheikh Ahmed Bazmoud, he says this from his own account. This is what he says from his own account. He says, Sheikh Rabi', he told me to stop. He said, it is not from our way that we precede the ulama. It's not from our way that we precede the scholars and our elders. He said, so when the Sheikh told me stop, I stopped. He said, but I asked the Sheikh, was I wrong for what I said? He said, the Sheikh Rabi' years ago, he said, no, you are not wrong for what you said, but we want to give him a little more time to see if he changed. You understand? Even though Sheikh Ahmed was right, could he go back now and say, no, I'm right, that's it, we on the hot, da 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 da? Nah, it's a way you do things. It's a way you do things. With hikmah. When the ulama, when they speak, it's decisive, it's done. When we speak, we leave people wiggle room. We leave ways out to go make more corruption, to make more trickery of people. You understand? This is why we have to be patient. Even though we may know this individual's like this, you still be patient, Sheikh. Now? Not yet. Okay. Sheikh, say something now? No, not. Likewise, same thing with Shadid Muhammad. You think brothers ain't know about Shadid years ago? Brothers knew about Shadid years ago. But it's the way you go about doing things. It's the way you go about doing things. When Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi, when Sheikh Abdullah Bukhari, when Sheikh Ubaid and the like of the Mashaykh, okay, forget it, it's enough, too much, go. Then the brothers went out. Before then, he was being advised in private. He was being advised in private before then. Na'am? He was being patient with him. Taking him to the ulama. So on and so forth. When the Mashaykh said, that's it, go. Warn the people from him. Then the warning came. Not before that. Why? Because it would have caused more confusion. Na'am? And at the end of the day, what? There was hope that maybe he'll change. Gave him opportunities. You all saw the bayan he wrote, the first one. Trying to clear things up. Just to show his true colors a few months later and totally go against it. Give him opportunity. Naam. Because you have to remember that what? We're going to stand up from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't want to stand up from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and now your brother's saying, oh Allah, he didn't give me a chance. You want to be in that situation, Yawm al-Qiyamah? Or do you want to establish the proof against the one who's wrong? So now he can't come Yawm al-Qiyamah and say nothing. We gave you a chance. We spoke to you in private. Right? Gave you chances. Gave you advice. So on and so forth. You ain't want to take it. That's it. Right? It's about doing things right. It just don't mean we quiet about the error and we don't say anything about the error. We speak about the error. You do the error publicly, we're going to talk about the error. Khalas. Speak about it. You put it publicly, we're going to talk about it. Right? But as far as when it reaches the level that it reached with the likes of Shadid and Tahir and so on and so forth, it has to be done in a proper way. Naam, has to be done in a proper way. So ikhwa, if you take anything away from this, I want you to take the fact that what? We have to refer back to the ulama. When we see violations, the violation we've been seeing, so on and so forth, we have to take that back to the ulama and to seek their advice and their counsel with regards to these things. And then follow the advice that they give us because they are more knowledgeable about the likes of these things. Now, this is important. This is important. So I advise myself and I advise the brothers to study, to seek knowledge, to connect to the ulama, to have classes with them regularly, to refer back to them and to ask them questions. Even if you understand something, you think you understand something, check your understanding with the people of knowledge to make sure. Because now you're just adding good upon good. Now, because if you understood it, alhamdulillah, good upon good. If you didn't understand it, the shaykh, he would correct you and your false understanding, and now you understand it correctly. Now, and it's something that is important that we have to do. And if we were to do the likes of these things, and we would just do the things that we're supposed to do, our problems would disappear. فنكتفي بهذا القدر وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. بارك الله تعالى فيكم. جزاكم الله خيرا.